We got Tennessee taking on Alabama. Many of you Tennessee fans have been waiting all season for this game because you remember how you pulled off the upset against Alabama last year. You beat Alabama at home. Well, this time, you got to go on the road and beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa. Now, this Alabama team is probably the weakest team that Nick Saban has ever had during his time being the head coach of the Crimson Tide since his first season at Bama. I mean, I don't know how this team finds ways to win games. They just find ways to win. This defense has played at a really high level. This has been one of the best defenses in all of college football this year. And you look at Tennessee. Offensively, they aren't the explosive offense that they were in 2022. And Joe Milton, he's disappointed me. Okay, I'm going to just be honest with you. I was expecting way more out of Joe Milton this season. I thought that Joe Milton could be a legitimate contender for the Heisman Trophy. Now, he hasn't played bad, but he hasn't played great. There definitely has been a tremendous drop-off between the quarterback play that you got out of Hendon Hooker and the current quarterback play that you're getting out of Joe Milton. This offense hasn't been able to generate a lot of explosive plays. Last season, it seemed like Tennessee could generate an explosive play damn near anytime they wanted to. Now, Tennessee's defense has been really good this year. And I think that's what's going to give Tennessee a shot at winning this game because you see, Alabama is a 9.5-point favorite in this game. And it really surprises me because Alabama, watching them on offense, is pretty tough to watch. Like Jalen Milroe, he has the ability to hit a couple of big plays downfield. He also is a really great athlete with his legs. But against a really good Tennessee defense, I think that we could see Jalen Milroe struggle. And if Jalen Milroe struggles, then Alabama is going to be in for a defensive slugfest. And this probably is going to be one of those games that comes down to whoever is able to get the 20 points first. You see, Joe Milton and company, I don't really think they trust him that much. I think that Josh Heupel and company are going to want to establish the run game early, try to get Alabama's home crowd out of it a little bit, try to take a lot of time off the clock. Because, you see, here's the good thing if you're Josh Heupel. Even though your offense has struggled, I think that you like your offense a lot more than you like Alabama's offense in this game. You see, Tennessee, we know that they're going to be able to get some points on the board. Alabama, I don't know, man. Sometimes it's hit or miss with Jalen Milroe. Like, sometimes he can be really good. He does throw a pretty nice deep ball at times, but his decision-making is not great. He doesn't really go through all his progressions. He will overlook wide-open wide receivers. He'll overthrow wide-open wide receivers. It's just like Jalen Milroe is hot and cold. And Joe Milton, I don't think he's hot and cold as much as Jalen Milroe is. I just think at times it takes Joe Milton a little bit of time to get going into the game. And depending on how Joe Milton starts this game, if he starts this game out hot, I think he'll carry that throughout the whole entire game. But if he starts this game out cold, then I think he'll probably play the whole entire game cold. I think if you're Josh Heupel, you need to establish the run game and try to get Joe Milton going early. And then see if you can get some play action going. See if you can try to get some big plays downfield using the play action pass game. Like, if you're Tennessee, you got to find a way to play true to your identity. And I don't think that Tennessee's offense this season has been playing true to their identity. Like against Florida, it was hard to watch the Vols offense against Florida. A Florida defense that, by the way, has given up plenty of big plays. So when you're going up against a defense like Alabama, yeah, you're probably going to struggle, but the fact that Alabama's offense is probably going to struggle just as much as you are is what gives this game a chance to be won if you're a Vols fan. And I'm surprised that Alabama is nearly a 10-point favorite in this game. I thought that Bama was only going to be a 3-point favorite in this game. Although Alabama has the significant talent advantage, I think that with the way Alabama's offense has played this season, struggling just to get the 24 points, it gives Tennessee a great shot to win. And when I watched Alabama against Arkansas, they were up big on Arkansas. But then their offense went cold, and it allowed Arkansas to get back into the game. You see, I don't think this way of winning football games for Alabama is sustainable with how this offense performs at times. Like, 24 points in today's age of college football is not that great. And when you got an offense that's inconsistent and is inefficient, it puts your defense on the field for more plays than what they would like to be. And if Tennessee can get their high tempo, fast paced offense going and they can start wearing down that Alabama defense, that can potentially set Tennessee up to throw some potential haymakers later on in this game. I mean, we know that Joe Milton has the talent to be a game changer. It's just that he hasn't really been all that consistent. So I ask y'all this. Who do you think is going to be the more consistent quarterback in this game? Do you think that it's going to be Joe Milton, or do you think that it's going to be Jalen Milroe? Now, me personally, I kind of have a little bit more faith in Jalen Milroe just because he's a little bit of a better athlete than what Joe Milton is. As a matter of fact, he's not even a little bit of a better athlete. He's just way better of an athlete than what Joe Milton is. But you see, here's the thing. I think that Joe Milton is a better thrower of the football than what Jalen Milroe is. Jalen Milroe, his accuracy is hit or miss, especially when it comes to throwing the deep ball. Like, he can hit the deep ball, but he can't work the short intermediate passing game at all. He overlooks wide receivers constantly. He just doesn't look like a natural quarterback back there. And I really think that's what hinders this Alabama offense. And Alabama's offensive line hasn't really done the brother any favors neither. And Tennessee's defensive line has been arguably the best in the SEC this year. They can get pressure on the quarterback, and they're pretty stout against the run too. So if you're Alabama, if you can't run the football at all, how are you going to find a way to put some points up on the board offensively? Because this isn't the same Tennessee defense that you saw last year. Hell, I didn't even think that Tennessee's defense was as bad as what people made it out to be. Like, this is the same defense that shut down Kentucky and LSU on the road in Death Valley last year. People overlook that. They don't talk about that. Tennessee's defense is really legit. It's just that for Alabama, you know, one factor that you do have on your side, outside of your great defense, even if your offense struggles, you're going to have the home field advantage. You didn't have that last year. And I don't care how you feel about Alabama. You can say that they're not as good as what they used to be or whatever. Playing in Tuscaloosa is still a tough place to walk away with a victory. And regardless, not every team can win in Tuscaloosa. You got to be a championship caliber football team to beat Alabama at home. And I don't think Tennessee is that. You see, Texas beat Alabama just because Alabama's offense just couldn't hang around with Texas' offense. You see, it doesn't matter how good your defense is if your offense can't help you play complementary style football. You see, Alabama's defense can keep them around, but if Tennessee's offense can get clicking and they can start rolling and get in stride and get in rhythm with Joe Milton, this could be a game that could be a lot of trouble for Alabama. Like Texas, they were able to win that game pretty convincingly because they just had a really good offense. You see, Tennessee's offense has the potential to be really good. And if Tennessee's offense just wakes up in this game, I think Alabama probably loses. Regardless of how good their defense plays, like, your defense can only do so much if your offense is ineffective. And Alabama's offense is going up against one of the best defenses that they've seen since they have played Texas. Alabama's offense hasn't seen a defense as good as Tennessee ever since they lost to the Longhorns at home. I'm taking Alabama to win this game still. It's still really hard to win on the road in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Playing in Tuscaloosa is a place that not a lot of teams are going to be able to win. And the same way I felt about Ole Miss going into this game, it's the same way I feel about Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee has a great offense, but at the end of the day, when you play on the road in Tuscaloosa, it's just a different animal. I don't know what it is about playing in Bryant-Denny Stadium that makes it so hard to win at, but it's just something magical anytime you play Alabama in this stadium. And last year, Tennessee had the luxury of being able to beat Alabama in their hometown, in their home stadium. And the only two losses that Alabama suffered last season was on the road. You're not Texas. Tennessee is nowhere as good as what Texas is, but they don't have to be. Because any given Saturday, any upset is capable of being able to take place. But if you're telling me that Tennessee is going to be able to do something that only, 3 or 4 teams have been able to do in the last 7, 8 years, I don't know about that, man. Like, you got to be a really good football team to be able to beat Alabama on the road. And I don't think Tennessee is as good as what they were last year. Like, if this was last year's Tennessee team going up against this year's Alabama team, I would like Tennessee by 20. But the fact that Tennessee's offense has been inconsistent and they have struggled to generate big plays, and Joe Milton has kind of been hit or miss at times, like, as long as Alabama's defense is as good as what they have been up to this point, I think Jalen Milroe is going to be able to break off a couple of big runs and then get a couple of big throws downfield. The key for Alabama is make sure that you don't get too far behind the chains. Try to avoid being put in third and long situations. You got to make sure that you win on the early downs. So give me the Crimson Tide to get the win.